What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here for the keys to the game, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Atlanta Falcons divisional round preview. Falcons Seahawks. This is the first game on Saturday for the divisional round. This is one of the more exciting games, in my opinion. We have a team that has been kind of a mainstay in the playoffs for the last few years, at least ever since Russell Wilson has been at the helm for Seattle. And then for Atlanta, Matt Ryan, arguably the MVP, probably will be named the MVP this season, and a high-scoring offense, the eighth best offense for points for in NFL history. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. Of course, Legion of Boom versus the Falcons offense with Kyle Shanahan at the helm. Very interesting game. A lot of different matchups that could determine this, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think you could argue that each team has really, played well throughout the season. And I think both teams can win this game. So let's go over the keys to the game. We're starting with the pass rush. The pass rush for both teams will be very important. Not only will the Seattle pass rush be very important because they need to get after Matt Ryan in order to kind of disrupt their rhythm on offense and in their passing game where they're so lethal, but the actual Atlanta Falcons need to get a good pass rush because as we've seen this season, you can really tell when Seattle has troubles. Seattle has troubles even against mediocre to bad teams this season, aka the Rams, when they have a team that has a good front four and is able to get after Russell Wilson. When you have a team with great elite pass rushers like LA had, or maybe Tampa Bay had, or a couple other teams that they lost to and played poorly against, then that kind of throws off the entire Seattle offense because their offensive line is terrible. It's amongst one of the worst offensive lines in the league. It's decent at run blocking and has been good at times, but pass blocking, it hasn't been good or consistent this entire season. They were able to play well, and they're especially able to play well at home. But once they go on the road, what I always say is offensive lines don't travel well. And in this case, I don't think this offensive line will travel well against Atlanta. I think that Beasley, the leading sack leader in the league, will have some success on the edge. And it's going to be really up to Seattle to scheme around him and try and hold him from getting to Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson wants to scramble around. He wants to hit Doug Baldwin and Richardson down the field for big plays. He needs time to develop his passing plays down the field. Seattle isn't an offense that's going to spread you out and going to throw 4-yard, outs and 3-yard slants and all that stuff. They want to, run the ball, set up play action, get outside the pocket, and throw bombs down the field. And if they can't get good protection, they won't be able to do that. As for Atlanta, they like to run the ball. They like to pass the ball. They can do it all. They work off the run game in some capacities. They like to run the ball, a lot of stretch runs, outside runs. Then they like to hit play action, get Matt Ryan outside the pocket as well. But Matt Ryan's pretty much good from throwing anywhere. Julio Jones is going to be a big X factor in this game. We'll see if Richard Sherman does cover him all over the field or not. That's going to be interesting to see. Richard Sherman did have some success against him in the first matchup, but Julio did get some catches and yards on him as well. So it's going to be a pretty even matchup there. But if Bennett and Avril can get after Matt Ryan and can kind of slow down his progressions and kind of force him into some bad throws, then Seattle has a great chance of disrupting this great offense. Then let's go to the Seattle run game, because not only will the defense have to play great, the defensive line, the pass rush have to play great against Matt Ryan, but the opposite side of the ball, what is one of the best ways of really beating a great offense, and that is with your offense. If you're able to run the football, if you're able to sustain drives and chew up the clock, that's very important. Thomas Rawls had a great game against Detroit last week. If he can have another great game this week, then Seattle's chances go through the roof, because I really believe that Atlanta hasn't been that good against the run this year, and if Thomas Rawls has a great game, they could win this one. But the thing is with Seattle, you don't know what you're going to get from their running backs, from their run game, from their offensive line. I think they are a lot better at home when it comes to running the ball and playing offense in general. They've struggled to score points on the road. I think they're somewhere around like 15 points a game on the road. That's definitely not going to get it done against Atlanta. you're going to at least have to score 24 plus to win this game. So I'm going to say that Seattle needs to run the football and be successful running the football to win this game. And vice versa, Atlanta needs to stop Seattle from running with at least consistency and getting big chunks. If they can sustain them and kind of contain that run game and force Russell Wilson to throw the ball in 3rd and longs, then they're in great shape. All right, let's go over to Atlanta. And I think a big thing for Atlanta in this game will be starting strong. They really need to start strong. They really need to come out and put some points on the board. If they're able to do that early on, that means that Seattle will have to pass the ball more, come from behind, and that's something that they're not very good at. They at times have a comeback or two in the 4th quarter, but that's really when their defense is playing great. But when an offense is consistently scoring, especially at home, it's very difficult for Seattle to come back in a game and match you point for point. So if Atlanta comes out, let's say, with a 10-0 lead, I think they have a enormous chance of winning this game because it's going to be very difficult for Seattle to pass every play with the offensive line that they have, and really the defense just being able to get after Russell Wilson that much easier. So I'm going to say that Atlanta needs to start strong. Then we have the problem of Jimmy Graham. How is Atlanta going to cover Jimmy Graham? It's going to be an interesting thing. Jimmy Graham did have a lot of success against them in the first matchup. So this is going to be another game where Jimmy Graham is going to be a huge factor. Can they cover him? Who will they cover him with? Will it be Keanu Neal? Will it be one of their younger linebackers or faster linebackers? Will they try and be aggressive with maybe a bigger guy at the line of scrimmage? So it's going to be very interesting. Will they double team him? So Jimmy Graham, of course, is important. You also have to look at Doug Baldwin, who is really important as well to the Seattle passing attack. But Jimmy Graham and tight ends specifically have been very successful against Atlanta, so that's why I bring up Jimmy Graham. Freeman and Coleman versus Wagner and Wright. I think this matchup might decide the game in terms of Atlanta's offense. If Atlanta's able to score points, you can most likely look to see that Freeman and Coleman are playing very well, whether that's in the pass game, whether that's in the run game. If they're successful off screens, short throws out of the backfield. These guys are very dangerous, probably the best tandem of running backs in the NFL, and they're utilized very creatively by Kyle Shanahan. So Wagner and Wright. Wagner, who's been one of the best linebackers in the league, and Wright, who has been very consistent over the past few years and one of the top outside linebackers in the league. Very interesting matchup, especially in coverage for these linebackers. So those are the keys to the game for the Seattle Seahawks versus the Atlanta Falcons. I have the Falcons winning by 6 points, 33-27. I think this will be a higher scoring game. I think Seattle will struggle defending Atlanta's offense. And I think that Seattle might take a while to get their offense going. But near the 3rd quarter, I think they'll be able to get some drives together and start scoring some points. So I'm going to go with Atlanta to hang on late in the game. But this could be a close game, and I could definitely see Seattle winning if they do these things. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more keys to the game. Check out my other keys to the game if you're a Seahawks or Atlanta fan and you're looking forward to who you're going to play in the next round. Definitely check out my Packers and Dallas Cowboys keys to the game that I'll have up in just a little bit. So check that out on the Bottom Line View. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out.